Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. My name is Dean Jones. I'm the Well-Seasoned Librarian, and today this is Season 3, Episode 3. I'm talking to Carrie Morey today, and I had a wonderful time talking to her. She is the co-founder of Callie's Hot Little Biscuit, and it's a chain that is sweeping across the South, not only into physical locations and food trucks, but also into grocery stores where she's selling her biscuits as well. She is the co-author of a cookbook, Callie's Biscuits and Southern Traditions, and a brand new cookbook, Little Hot Suppers, that is coming out this week. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to her. In addition to all that, she has an award-winning PBS TV show called How She Rolls, which is wonderful, and I really enjoyed getting a chance to watch it. She's so natural on camera, and she brings a lot to the table. It's a very fun and informative show, and I recommend it to anybody. Without further ado, I'm going to go right to the conversation. I just want to say how much I enjoyed it, and I think you will too. So without any further delay, here we go. Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. This is Dean Jones, the Well-Seasoned Librarian. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Carrie Morey about her new upcoming cookbook, Hot Little Suppers, Simple Recipes to Feed Family and Friends, and also about her business. Carrie, thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Well, I want to mention to you that I joined your, on your website, I became a biscuiteer, so I'm a very proud biscuiteer. Is there a salute or anything I need to do?
It's a little rolling in the dough. So
yeah, I like
get the
that.
Rolling motion going. Yeah, I just made that up, but I like that. I there needs to be an initiation, I guess. We have to see how well you eat biscuits and how well we teach you to make them, maybe.
Okay, I like that. I make biscuits for my family at least once a week. I always have some, I make them quite a bit. Been making them since I was a kid, so it's something I can almost do in my sleep now.
Well, I might need you to come work with us.
I'd love that. That would be great.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we don't hear that very often, that you make, most people don't make biscuits, at home. And to hear that you're doing it once a week really makes me happy. So thank you.
Oh yeah, everybody likes the biscuits at home. I do all the baking for my family. This morning I got up at 5 o'clock and made sourdough for my family. So we have a couple loaves for them.
Yum.
Now I want to ask you about Callie's Hot Little Biscuit, your company that's been doing very well, and you've been successful for 15 years. How did you come to start your business?
Well, I knew that I wanted to build a career around my priority, which was raising our daughters. And I couldn't figure out how to make my priority and my passion work together. And the passion for food, I knew that I wanted to work in the food realm, but I couldn't find a career that would be complementary to my priority. And so to open a restaurant would be a really difficult thing to do, to be the present mom that I wanted to be. So, I was on maternity leave with our first daughter and just started daydreaming about how can I have both? How can I have it all? I want to be able to fuel my own creativity and have something for myself within the area that I love, but also put my family first. So, great things happen when you let your mind wander.
Well, you've done very well. You've branched out from a successful operation. You have many eateries across the South, food trucks, catering, and now you're selling your products in stores, which is amazing. It's a wonderful business model, and you're doing so well. I think you're kind of the model of business models for a food industry. I'm very jealous that the South has a lot of your franchises and we don't have them out here. I hope very much so that California wakes up and gets some of your franchises. Did being an entrepreneur come naturally to you? Did you just, happen into it, or naturally, or did you study it in school?
No, I studied elementary education in school and thought I wanted to be a school teacher, mainly because I knew I wanted to be a mom. But, I think that you can become an entrepreneur in many different ways. And mine, I was led to that type of work because I wanted to create something of my own. And what I didn't know about myself was that I guess I'm a natural leader. And, I think that when you have that in you, the desire to create and lead and grow and build something just has always come really naturally to me. So it never crossed my mind to go into business as a major in college or to think about going to business school, because I never really thought about what I was going to do. It was, what do I feel like doing in the moment and what am I passionate about? And that's kind of how I've always led my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken business in school, and I've known a lot of entrepreneurs, but I know so many more that seem to have not studied it and just went into it naturally with their own intuition and done very well. I mean, California is full of a lot of self-made entrepreneurs that are multi-billionaires. So I mean, it's just so wonderful to see this success story of Americans who create their own businesses and succeed so well like you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Now, the business is named after your mother, Callie. Can you tell us about her and how she inspired your business?
Yeah. So my mom has always been an incredible cook and actually had a small catering business out of her house when I was young. And so I grew up watching her cook, entertain. A lot of times I was the server at these parties. And so I was receiving all the accolades for these country ham biscuits, which were always on her menu, regardless of the cuisine. So I knew that there was something really special about these biscuits. And ham biscuits in the South are not a big, they're on every party menu in the South, but hers were distinctively different in that she chopped the ham, she put a whipped Dijon mustard butter in the center.
Ooh.
It just was distinctively different. It was easy to eat standing up at a cocktail party. She used the most incredible family farm ham from Surrey, Virginia, Edwards Ham. And I just knew that there was something about them because I would serve them and people would say, well, where can I buy these? I said, well, she won't sell them. You gotta have, you gotta have a party. And that, coupled with living in New York and sharing them with my friends that were of all cultures, that clicking, knowing that it isn't just a Southern thing, and coming home and knowing that I wanted to be at home with my mom, and the internet was booming. I just left New York working for an internet company, and I said, we need to start a mail order business. And so we kind of flip-flopped and started it the opposite way. Most businesses start with a brick and mortar, but we didn't want that to be a slave to the space. So I started the business with my mom, and we were 50-50 partners, and she ran the baking side and I ran the marketing and the selling and all the day-to-day business. And from the very beginning, it was a complete disaster, because can you imagine what it's like to go into business with your daughter or your mother? It was a good. So, it was very rocky. And the irony is that I started the business to try to really develop a relationship with my mom. And it hasn't been until in the last 5 years that we've actually been able to do that. But what I'm so grateful for is that, because it was the journey that got us there. But also, I probably wouldn't have had enough guts to start the business had she not started it with me, because she was the master baker, not me. So I learned a lot from her. She helped set up so many processes. And then she had a product that I truly believed in and could become inspired by and create a business idea around. So that's why it's called Callie's.
Now, your first cookbook was called Callie's Biscuits and Southern Traditions, Heirloom Recipes from Our Family Kitchen. How did this book come about for you?
So when we started the business, we realized that, with an online business, you're constantly asking people to buy things, right? So
Right.
In 2007, we were just asking, and not giving anything in return. And somebody said, well, you cook all the time, you should start sharing your recipes. And I said, well, why would anybody want my recipes? And she said, everybody wants recipes. This is hard to believe because we're so evolved now in the way we eat and get inspired with food. It's all through social media. But my publicist said, well, you're always asking for them to buy. Why don't you share something of your life that you can give them without asking? And that really resonated with me. And I thought, I can get on board with that. I can share. I don't know if anybody wants to hear it, but at least it will make me feel like I am doing something for our customers. So that's really how it started. And the first, the first recipe that we wrote was for this crab dip, this warm crab dip that my mom had always made. And we served it on the Today Show with the biscuits. And the funny story is that Hoda and Kathy Lee took the bite and it was like, oh, melt in your mouth. We had just given this huge biscuit demo. And Hoda goes, oh my God, that is the best crab dip I've ever had. And we thought, oh gosh, we must have had 400 to 500 emails and calls about the recipe for the crab dip.
Oh my God.
We did sell a lot of biscuits too, but it was just funny. So the power of that really made me realize, okay, I should start continuing to share what I'm doing at home. I'm doing it anyway. I cook 4 to 5 nights a week. Why not share it? So that's really how it started. And it took many years from the time that we shared the first recipe to the time that I got the book deal. So it was a journey, but yeah, now we're getting ready to launch our second one, which is a total pinch me moment because I never thought that we would have 2. I never thought we'd have 1, but now that we have 2, it's pretty amazing.
And so the one you were mentioning is Hot Little Suppers, Simple Recipes to Feed Family and Friends, which is a cook for a large family. I'm very eager to get my hands on. What seems to differentiate this cookbook in your aim to help the reader feed friends and family? Can you talk about that for a bit?
Sure. Well, it's an authentic journey of what goes on in my life. So we have 3 daughters, all teenagers, all that have multiple sports in their life and outer whatever between here and school and all over. And a huge, strong desire from me to create sacred family time around the dinner table every night. So it's super important for me to feel accomplished in order to feel like I have really made a difference in my daily life is to serve supper to my family. And it's our grounding space. It's where no matter how good or bad the day is, we can sit down and just be a family. And I don't think there's any better way to do that than over a meal. So this is just the food that I cook for our family and the ones that made it to okay, this is book worthy, this is not, that kind of thing, and how we eat. So it's dependent upon the weather and the time of year and how busy we are and whether or not we're going to cook all day on Sunday and have a Sunday supper or a Saturday night dinner party or out the door on the way to volleyball. So I think that everybody can relate to that because we're all so busy, and it gives you so many options that can be a huge supper or it can be a side and a salad and drinks and a few desserts along the way as well.
Now, is there any favorites you have from the cookbook that you want to talk about?
Well, I think the ones that are my most favorite are the ones that they have the great stories behind them. So the one that comes to mind that my girls actually inspired was, we had a huge snowstorm a few years ago here, which is very rare. And we were walking the beach and it was covered in snow and the girls were bored and didn't really have anything to do because school was canceled. And I said, well, we should make Italian wedding soup tonight. And they said, well, what's that? And I explained what it was. And I went out to get the ingredients and check on work. And I came back and they had taken a simple idea and just totally run with it. They had gotten the entire neighborhood involved. We had a full on wedding.
I love
we had
this.
Guests. They turned the furniture out of our dining room. They made an aisle. We had a pew. We had a bride, a groom. They made a homemade wedding cake. And I think back on that, and it will probably be that one memory that sticks out for our entire family is this simple soup created this event that involved the entire neighborhood and ensued this little wedding party, which is, I don't know, it's pretty perfect.
I love that story. Kids can always make things very magical.
Yes, especially when they don't have phones.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now you have an exciting new series that's out on PBS, How She Rolls. It's a fun program and I've enjoyed watching the episodes. How has it been being on a TV show for you? I mean, this is something new, right? And has it changed your life?
Well, it is something new, and the entire process that was actually filmed over COVID. So what was supposed to be 50 days of shooting turned into almost a year and a half of shooting. So
Wow.
to to say that it was ongoing in our lives for a long time is an understatement. But I have to say that not having any idea what it was going to be like to have your life followed, it was pretty pretty amazing. I never felt as if I was being infringed upon. I think our family felt very protected. I think it all, has to do with the production company and who you choose. And we just got really lucky and have some really incredible partners. But no, it hasn't changed our life any. Maybe a honk here or there when we're going down the road, but it's just been great. It's been really great, and it's lovely to look back. And my girls are super excited to hopefully get to film another season because they won't have braces in the season. So that's what they're worried about is we got our braces off. Are we going to be able to have a season two? I'm like, I'll see. I'll see what we can do. So so far it's been wonderful. I have no complaints.
Well, I hope so, because it's one of those shows. I mean, there's a few shows we watch on TV in the evening after we've had a long, hard day, and we're kind of sitting, on the couch, kind of decompressing. Watching a show like yours kind of makes things feel better and gives us some hope for ourselves. So it's nice to have
Oh,
that.
well, thank you for saying that. That is so kind. I love that.
Now, Chef Carla Hall has her own podcast, and one of the things she talks about with all the guests is making biscuits. That's one of her things that she talks about, having a commonality with somebody. Now, do you find, like, in your life in making biscuits, that you have this commonality with many Americans? We all have our biscuit story. Is that something that you find for yourself?
I do. Just like we were speaking earlier, I find no matter where a person lives, where they're from, what their upbringing is like, there's always going to be some story in that person's life where there was a connection to biscuits. So if you're from Washington State and you never grew up eating biscuits, you might still have an aunt or a sister's brother's cousin that made biscuits. And the reason biscuits are so magical is because they're comfort food. They ensue incredible memories, and just it's something that you don't forget. If you eat a good biscuit, it will connect you with somebody. And so I think that is my favorite thing to ask people, even if they're not from the South, is do you have somebody in your family that makes them? Because the way they tell the story about that person and how they made the biscuits and how they didn't even measure, and it was such a labor of love, and they still remember that hot buttery biscuit going into their mouth, is something that they don't forget. And it's the biggest honor to me to have people come in to our hot little biscuit bake shops and say, this tastes just like my grandmother's or my aunt's, and we don't know how she made them and we don't have the recipe. And I mean, that is a huge responsibility for us to be able to recreate that and take somebody back to that memory is something that I don't take lightly. And I know it's a big honor to be able to share that with someone. And I think whenever you share food with people, you're breaking down barriers and you're connecting naturally anyway. So biscuits are no different, just maybe a little bit butterier, if
I,
that's a word, butterier.
I remember one of my most fond memories is my grandfather went back to Arkansas. He came back to San Diego and he brought home some sorghum that one of his relatives had made.
Oh,
And he sat me down and he got out a biscuit. He put some of the sorghum on the biscuit and he says, "You try that." And he was offering me, I think, one of the best treats he ever had when he was young. And I enjoyed it, of course. And so he was so happy to share that with me. And it's just a touchstone from my life, I think.
I love that story. And, I have a similar story. My grandmother couldn't afford sorghum or even real maple syrup, but it's still one of my favorite biscuit memories today. When we didn't have money to have dessert, she would take the leftover biscuit off the plate and turn it on its side, and we'd stick our thumb in the middle and she would fill it up with imitation maple syrup. And to me, there's no better way to eat a biscuit. And I don't even care for sweet over say. I'm always a savory person. So, but that memory, it just, and all of my cousins share that same memory. So it's fun to talk about that and just remember that it's really special.
Now, I've seen many articles recently when I was doing my research to ask you questions, and I saw how you've been talking about how the pandemic affected your operations. Can we talk a little bit about how the quarantine has affected your business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're no different than everybody else in that it is completely, well, in many ways, it has helped us grow because when you get a roadblock, you got to figure out another way around. And inevitably, we've had a lot of good growth as a result of pushing ourselves. But then we've had a lot of um, complete stifled growth too. So I see it both ways, and it's not over yet. We are still in the thick of it, and um, we're still having supply chain issues and back orders, and like everybody. And so I feel like starting a business and being an entrepreneur and growing a business from the ground up, we're used to these problems. And so while it has been unlike anything we've ever dealt with, it's not something that we're not used to. We are constantly dealing with problems and roadblocks and setbacks. So this one's just lasting a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more intense than the ones in previous years.
Now, I could only imagine the comfort that you brought so many families in this country and how much you've impacted people with your products and operations. I know myself, like I've done blue collar labor in my life. And when you're on your way to work, you're not really looking forward to the day. You've got a lot of hard work to do. And stopping by a place and getting a biscuit, and some coffee really can set a different tone to your day. Have you gotten a lot of feedback from your customers and fans about how you kind of impacted their life?
We get a lot of stories about how not only have our biscuits made someone who's lost someone better, or somebody who's ailing feel better, or someone who's welcoming a new baby life easier. But the stories that I love are the ones, like I said earlier, that where people say, this tastes just like my blah, blah, blah. Or we have been serving your cinnamon biscuits for the last 15 years as our Christmas morning tradition. I mean, there's no better compliment, in my opinion, to hear that my humble biscuit is a part of somebody's tradition, or it's my annual birthday or our anniversary. I don't think you could say anything nicer to me. So those are the things that I can't get enough of and want to hear more of, and love reading.
Now, what's next for Callie's Hot Little Biscuit?
That's a great question. I think right now we are working really hard on trying to grow our online presence and our wholesale presence. We are holding steady with the 4 Hot Little Biscuit locations that we have because we know that we're not out of the woods yet with the pandemic, and we really want to be cautious about our growth on the restaurant side. So, we are just enjoying the ride and slowly and steadily growing. And I don't have any specific thing that's going to happen next. And I think that's what I like so much about being an entrepreneur, is the surprise that comes along with building a business when you aren't planning out every moment. I love that. I love the opportunities and the people that you meet, and you just never know what could happen next. So I'm definitely a bit of a dreamer in that way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing myself.
Very nice. Now, is there any way I can ask you very selfishly how we can get Callie's Hot Little Biscuit in California?
Well, I would love that. I would love nothing more than that. The problem is that I have 3 daughters in high school, and I don't want to miss a moment. So
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm a month behind visiting my Atlanta store. I'm about 3 weeks behind visiting my Charlotte store. So I am going to I'm going to get back to you on that. How's
okay,
that?
well, sounds good. I'll just have to visit.
In the meantime, come to Charleston.
Yeah,
yes.
I've wanted to. I've been watching a lot of TV shows that feature Charleston lately, and it really looks like a fun place to visit. I really do want to come there.
Please come visit us. This is the perfect time of year. You need to come before November. It is the best weather. From April to June is a great time too. And I just think everybody should visit Charleston.
Yeah, no, it looks beautiful. It looks like a good time. Well, thank you very much, Carrie, for being on the podcast. I really enjoy getting a chance to talk to you.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a nice little Friday departure from work.
Good. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Carrie Morey and get a chance to look up her cookbook online. It's available on Amazon this week. It's a really great little cookbook, and I also recommend her PBS series that we talked about, How She Rolls. It's a great series, and I'm sure you'll love it. Coming up this Friday, we have the famous Cassie Joey Garcia, who I'm sure you've seen on television as well. She's been all over the media, and she has a very popular website, Fed and Fit, where she's a writer for that and producer. She has a brand new cookbook out. It is Cook Once Dinner Fix, and it's a cookbook that I do literally use every week, and I was very excited to get to talk to her about that and get that cookbook from her because it's a godsend. And she was just charming to talk to as well. So please stay tuned for that on Friday. I hope you enjoy your week. Happy cooking.